solution of a problem in a sequence proper way. We can't break the complex problem in the multiple models, so that there you have to complexity to manage your the applications. To reduce the complexity of the applications, the new concept are introduced in the programming language is called the object-oriented programming language. Here you can split your complex tasks in the number of modules, and you can get the solution of the each module separately. After getting the solution of each module, you can combine two whole modules to get the complete solution of that application or that complex task. तो बेसिकली जो ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज है उसका कंसेप्ट है कॉम्प्लेक्स टास्क को स्प्लिट करना, बांटकर छोटे छोटे मॉड्यूल्स में और उसको सॉल्व करने के लिए ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज का कंसेप्ट लाया जाता है, जहां पर आप उसको हर मॉड्यूल्स को सेपरेटली आप सॉल्व कर सकते हैं. इंडिविजुअल पर्सन को आप असाइन कर सकते हैं हर मॉड्यूल. दे कैन सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम्स एंड देन you can integrate those all together to get the complete solution of that applications. So basically the basic objective of that oriented programming is to divide your complex tasks in the number of modules. That's it. So in this model objectives, what we will learn about the importance of the OOPS object oriented approach and the basic concept of the approach, object oriented approach, and the different set between the object and the procedure oriented approach. Whatever you are doing in the C language, the procedure oriented approach. But here if you are have already learned about the C++, we have already implemented the object oriented programming concept, writing the some classes already here. And then after that we will learn about the various object oriented language, which types of language that support the object oriented concepts. कौन कौन से लैंग्वेज है ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड लैंग्वेज के फीचर्स को सपोर्ट करते हैं, उसके बारे में आप स्टडी करेंगे इसके बारे में. सो बेसिकली हियर द क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ द लैंग्वेज. दिस डायग्राम इज द बेसिकली लैंग्वेज पैराडिग्म्स. पैराडिग्म मींस टेक्नोलॉजी, हाउ यू कैन डिस्क्राइब द सॉल्यूशन, हाउ यू कैन solve the complex problems. So these are the hierarchy. These are language paradigms technique. Paradigms technique, imperative techniques and declarative techniques. In the imperative techniques, procedure and the object oriented. Declarative, functional and the logical techniques. This is the hierarchy of the paradigm concept methodology. How many methodology we can implement. So which language follow the procedure, which language follow the object oriented language, which language follow the functional and then logicals. So these are the names. C and the Pascal follow the procedural language. C++, similar Java, they are follow the object oriented programming language. Lisp is the functional programming language for the AI. Artificial intelligence, if you are designing the applications, they have follow the Lisp. Prolog language, that is only for the logical. So come to the procedure paradigms are the statement oriented which variables holding the value. In this language, execution of the program is modeled as the series of state. These are the basically the knowledge of point of view. Nothing required for your current MCS024 required for your exam point of view. So in the counseling class, you need to only get the idea about your subjects and the point of the exam and point of your knowledge. So these techniques you can go through the itself. Here I will declare evolution of the methodology. That means किस तरह से इसमें डेवलपमेंट हुआ हमारे पास लैंग्वेज का प्रोसीजर टू हाई लेवल लैंग्वेज. यू कैन गो थ्रू दिस evolution of object oriented methodology. So you can go through that. A structured programming language first initially come. Then after that object oriented programming language comes. When object oriented programming comes, the object class comes into the picture. Okay, on that basis we have declared the classes, functions, constructors. All these are concepts to come inside the object oriented programming language. In the structured programming language, we have a study about the function, struct, okay. Now come to the object oriented programming language concept. What mean the object? Anyone can define what mean the object? Anyone can define the object? Anybody can define the object. What do you mean by the object? Because you have already studied about the object in the BCS32, C++. And hope you have already cleared out that subject in the previous exam. Anyone? No idea about what is the object?
Sir, we have idea what is object, and we have used in Java and C++. Object refers to a community who have same attribute, same behavior, and same function on which upon which we make the classes.
Okay, good. Anyone? और कोई और डिफाइन कर सकते हैं? So, in the object-oriented language, whatever you see in surrounding in your environments, everything is considered as an objects that has the well-defined properties. That through that you can identify that objects in the world that can be either tangible or non-tangible. जिसको आप टच कर सकते हो नहीं टच कर सकते हो. Those things you are view surrounding your environment everywhere. Everything is considered as an objects that have the well-defined properties. So that object can be considered as in the programming language. You can also, for your problem, you can consider in objects. Here in the Java, C++, whatever you have the problem, that should be considered in the form of the objects. Okay, so object is the real entity given here the definition. The world object-oriented and programming language programming express the program in a way that model how people perceive the world. These are diagrams. They are given the lots of the picture. All these are considered in the objects. They have all the specific properties and the behavior. That means the functionalities. These have this diagram compass has its own properties, its own functionalities. Okay. Similarly, if you have to go through the any problems, you can find the number of objects belonging in that problems, and then you can solve those problems in the concept of the object, only in the form of the object, with the help of the object-oriented programming language. The object is the simple. में आप define कर सकते हैं in the respect of the programming or in the general way. Object is the real things that is either tangible, non-tangible, have the common behavior, and the attributes, behavior and properties. That's called the objects. In the programming language, you can define object is the collection of the classes. Okay. Or you can consider object is the instance of the class that contains the behavior and the properties relevant to the class. Like the example you can tell, car is a class, but you have a define a model, number, color, then it defines a particular car. But a car is a class through which one object belongs. It's called the object oriented programming concept group में इसको आप इसको define कर सकते हैं. The basic difference of object oriented programming is that organize around the data being operated upon rather than the operations performed. The basic idea behind the object-oriented programming is the combine the both data and its functionality together. The basic idea जो है आपका object-oriented programming language concept में, you have to combine the data and the functionality on which that particular object perform their task. Like suppose you have taken the example car. So for the car, we have to combine the data like the colors, model number, engine, manufacturing companies, launch date. These are the data and the functionalities. How to drive? How we can drive? This is a functionality. How do you make the brake? This is the functionality. So these are the examples. So in the same way, you can define in the programming language. Suppose you have taken the example as the student. So student are the data. Name, roll number, subject, course code. These are the data. What is the function of the students regarding study, reading? Study is the functionality of the students. So you can define those together. so that it can represent an objects. We get clear? Hello? Is it clear? Okay. Now here the concept, basic concept of the object programming language. What is the object concept oriented programming language? Here this I can highlight this paragraph. You can read. Basic main concept of object programming language are the object and the class. If you are clear with the class and object, data abstraction, encapsulation, instance, and polymorphism. These are the basic features or properties of the object-oriented programming language. In exam, you might get one question from this theoretical part. What is the object-oriented programming language? What is the basic characteristics of the object-oriented programming language in a different way? And you can write the properties of the object-oriented programming language. Same question you have faced to the in different way. So object, class, data abstractions, encapsulation, instance, and the polymorphism. These are the basic features of the object-oriented programming. So you've already gone through in the MCS024. If I'm right, we've already studied about this object, class, abstraction, encapsulation, instance, polymorphism. Have you idea about these properties or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So need to redefine or can skip these parts?
Yes, sir. You can skip.
Everyone? If anyone have doubt any properties, what mean the abstraction, what mean the encapsulation, instance, polymorphisms, you can ask. Because this question, this class is for you. You have to know lots of the question. You can ask, not this for the listening from the counselor. You should come here
सर
before.
शॉर्ट में डिफाइन कर दो सर सारे.
Which one?
सर सबको शॉर्ट में डिफाइन कर दो सर थोड़ा थोड़ा.
Okay, that means you need to do the explanation in the short period. No?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no worry. So let's start with the objects. So you can read this paragraph. Now you can get a clear picture, and these are the example of the objects. Now, object is the first thing that we should do in the object-oriented programming language. So it is the start thinking the term of the object. That means whatever, if you try to solve any problems, if you suppose you get any problems, you should think in the concept term of the objects. Everything you can consider in the form of object. Suppose example, suppose you have to buy one book, or we have to buy one car or vehicle, somewhat. We have the problems. So this problem you can classify number of objects. How many objects are required? Suppose you have to buy one book for your Java language. I suggested one book. Okay, then you have to purchase. So how many objects in these problems could you identify? How many objects will required? How many objects can you determine in this problem to complete the problem, this task? Are you able to identify? Hello.
Yes, sir.
So tell me, that is a problem. You have to buy one book of the Java language. Okay, in a specific book name. Suppose I am provide your book name. Okay, XYZ. I know you have to purchase them. This is the problem. So how many objects you can determine in this problem? These are the basic general questions. If you are able to identify the number of classes, then you are able to identify the number of the objects to solve these problems. This is the analysis part of any problem. First, we need to have to analyze any problem. No. It's price.
Sir, it's price.
Price is what? Price is the object. Listen carefully. I'm telling you. No, without wasting your
Class.
time. Yeah.
Sir, class. And the book name Java will be the object.
Now,
Like
book
C++,
name.
Java.
You can identify the book name is the object. Book is your object. Book is a class. Okay. So if you give the any name that will belong to the book class. Okay. So there is a book is the one objects. Okay. One other things. What are your requirements? Suppose you have to purchase one books, we require the book name. Okay. Then you require the shops, where the shop is exist, and from where you have to purchase. And then another you require the money amounts. Okay. And another thing you have to conveyance through which we can go there, by foot or by you are taking the vehicles. So at least 3 is required. Shop, that means shop name. What will the shop name? And what is the address of the shop? These are the properties of the shop. Name of the shop, address of the shop, contact number of the shop, and the book is the class, and the properties of the class, that whatever data belong to the book, book name, publication name, writer name, and the cost of the books, and the edition of the books. These are the or lots of the parameters we can take, but at least these parameters are required. Okay, shop and book, and then require the money amount. How much amount you have to. Okay, so these are we required to input to solve this problem. So these input you can consider combining the which data to be put inside the book, which data you have to keep inside the shopkeeper, which data you are required to put in the your conveyance vehicles. Are you getting points?
Yes, sir.
So if you have to get any problem, right, you think about in the form of the classification modules. And then if you're able to classify it in the modules, then according to that modules, you can put the requirement data for that relevant modules and the functionality for that modules. And then you can proceed your logic. What you have to proceed the logic to perform that particular modules. The analysis of the parts. Okay, so start the analysis. First you analysis any problems, then you are able to the good programming language. If you don't have the analysis, you can't do. You only take the course anywhere and type on the monitor, desktop, anywhere, and then run the program, will get the happy. Okay, so read properly all of the study material. They have explained the very pretty. They have explained all the explanation in the very pretty. And here the problem to be solved, divided into the object, start analyzing the problem in the term of the objects and the nature of the communication between them. What is the nature of the between the communication? If you have divided the models, complex problem between the two model, three models, they should be communicate to each others. What will the way to communicate? You are now just we are communicating to each others. You are sitting somewhere, I am sitting somewhere. But we are able to communicate to each other. How? Through the internet, through the Google Meet platform. They provide the platform through which you can able to communicate. Okay, so you are the students are the other object, teacher are the other objects, some meeting organizer are the other objects. There are 3 components are included here to organize these classes. So how they are able to communicate to each other within the one platform? They are combined together here. That's they are able to communicate. They are organized to classes. Here is the given the example. I have given the example. You can read this example also. Real life example. For the example, suppose the dog. We can create an object of presenting a dog. It to have the data like the how hungry it, how happy it, where it. These are the questions. First we ask question. How hungry it, how happy it, fear it. These are the questions. According to this question, we get the data. Eat, bark, run, dig. Simply, we can consider the employee in the parallel system. Employee is the parallel system. Accounting system, management system, customer and the accounts in the banking system. These are the objects. Customer is the class. From that customers, you, me are belong as an object in the bank system. And your account is also the account class, but your account number is the object of that class, belonging to the class. So banking system are classified in this way: customer, accounts, staffs. These are the classification. Same thing, data structure like the linked list, stack, graph. Hardware devices like the magnetic tape, keyboard, printer. These are belong to the different parts. So these are the object. This is the object. Data functionalities, function 2, data function 1, 2, sending to each other. How they are communicating? Through the messaging. Through the messaging. Object are communicating through the messaging. If you go in a higher language, if you go further, if you are able to do the higher complex problem, they are to communicate to each other by passing the message. Object are communicated to each other by passing the message.
Sir, how they pass the message?
Okay, the simple way, if you are calling the first of all, suppose me and you are talking to each other. Okay, you are talking to each other, so you are able to speak with me. So you are passing your sound through the which medium? To the internet. There should be a medium through which you can communicate. You have published your message in the sound way, and they will deliver to destinations. So in the object of programming, whenever your programming language, when you call an object class, creating the object of the class and calling the method, we need to pass some data. Do you ever study about the call by value, call by function?
Yes, sir.
So what you are doing that time? If you call any methods, passing the data, or you can, later we see how we can call the object. On one, we can call the methods of the object. So how we can call the object, method of the object? Though by creating the object, first we create the object of the class, and then we call the method of that class. Or even if you assign to the another object, we want to send the one object data to the another object, we can communicate to each other. So through the programming, I will show that if we are able to do that in the counseling session. So later here the class is not the class is, you can say the template is called structure of the object. How the object can be designed, how object can be made up of, so that can be defined in the form of the class. Class is the built-in data types. And grouped together in the form of the object of the similar type can be grouped together to form a class. That means when you are divide the one complex problem in the modules, and each module belongs as a class, and that modules you can wrap up all the data required for that modules and the functions inside a single module. It's called the class. Clear? Class is nothing, is a template, a structure, blueprint of an object that contains the relevant data and the function of an object. The object, whatever data required and the functionality required, they define the structure for that. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now next is the data abstraction and the encapsulation. Data abstraction means hiding the data. Okay, you have to hide the internal structure of the any objects, structures. Don't want to show how they are organized. Only you have to show the functionalities, how they are only work there. That's it. Don't need to the describe about the structure about this. Suppose you have applied the brake in your vehicles. You don't know how they are working. We only know about the, if you push this part on the vehicle, the brake will be applied. You are operating a mobile daily to day. You don't know how the call are connecting to the your, and you dial the number and they connected with your exchange. You don't know how they are communicating. But only we need to get the interface and they will dial the number and push the call buttons. So these are the encapsulation. The encapsulation is the functionality, the properties of the object-oriented programming language that hide the internal structures of any objects and show only the essential functionalities of that. It's called the data abstractions. What is the encapsulation? Encapsulation is the mechanism, technique to wrapping of the data and the functionalities of the relevant objects in a single unit. It's called the encapsulations. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Next is the inheritance. One minute. Next the entrance. Next is the entrance properties. What is the entrance? Anyone can?
When a base class inherited classes from other classes,
This what?
when some other class inherited from the base classes,
Base class is inherited from the
other class inherited from base class.
or the other class is inherited from the base class.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, good. And so what is the basic benefit of the inheritance? Why we can inherit?
We don't need to record the function and initialize the values.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Anyone?
In inheritance method, we don't have to write the useful codes again in our derived class. We can inherit from the base classes, the useful codes.
Okay, inheritance is not the methods. Okay. You
Okay,
remember,
technique,
this is the
technique.
mechanism, this technique.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Inheritance is the when you are asked exam, it may be the questions. This question asked in the object-oriented language exam. Okay, so inheritance is the mechanism, the technique through which you can derive one class from the existing class to utilize the existing function or the behavior function or data into our derived class. It reduces the code and increase our productivity and decrease our size of the program. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Increase our productivity. How increase the productivity? Because you don't need to rewrite the same function in your derived class. You have just only call that functions. Okay, that function already come here inside your drive class. If they are the have the accessibility rights, if they don't have the accessibility right, you don't have to access right of that particular method from the base class. If that base class have the private methods, you can't be able to access in your drive class. If the base class have the public or the protected, then you are able to access those methods in your drive class. But some maybe also some circumstance condition depends on the package, from which package you are driving. It also depends on the package. So you need to understand and the package also for implementing the intents. Okay, so intents and the package are the correlated. So base class is also sometimes known as the super class. Okay, and derived class is also sometimes known as the child class or the subclass. It's clear?
Yes, sir.
Here the example. The feature A, feature B. Two classes are base class, from where they are derived these classes. Derived class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Suppose you have example, you can take the in organizations employee. In organizations, there are two types of employee. One is the permanent time employee, one is the project based employee. So you can take the one class as the employee, then you can drive the two classes. One is the permanent class, permanent employee, one is the contract based employees. Okay, so you can study, you can take the program. You have to study in the what? BCA. Yeah, your graduation program, PG program. So PG program have the lots of the programs. BCA, BA, BAG, these are the subclasses. In the BCA, they have the lots of the 6 semesters. You can drive the 6 semester. Semester 1, semester 2, semester 3. In the semester 1, you have to study material different. In semester 2, you have to separate study materials. So they are the hierarchy classifications. So similarly, you can drive the vehicles. And you can classify the vehicle is the one class. From the vehicle, you can drive this way: 4-wheeler, 3-wheeler, 2-wheelers. Okay, and after that, you can classify it according to the fuels. They are organized, running on the using the petrol. They are using the diesel and the CNG. Clear? How you can drive? On which criteria you have to drive? Or not? Are you clear how you can drive the class?
Yes,
Still
sir.
you have a doubt? Here is given the example. Area. Area is a super class. From the area you can drive the triangle, circle, rectangle, conic, and whatever your shape you can drive from the area. And whatever the common for all. Those variables are common. You keep inside the area. Whatever the individual variables are required, you keep inside the separate classes. Here is the basic concept of the comparison of the object-oriented programming language and the procedure programming language. You have to go through itself because it's not a procedure language you have already know where the approach. One is the through the approach is the top to bottom, one approach is the bottom to top. So anyone can explain which approach follow the procedure and which approach follow the object-oriented programming language. Procedural language, which flow? Top to bottom or bottom to top? Anyone have to idea?
Top to bottom.
Which one?
Procedural.
The programming language, which techniques which approach it will take? Top to
Sir,
bottom or
top to
bottom?
bottom. Top to bottom.
Okay. Anyone? Anyone? No idea. So first you know about the approach, which approach you have to follow. If you are going through the object-oriented programming language, which approach you are follow. You should know about that. In the procedural language or programming language, you should follow the top to bottom, start the top, end the bottom. In the object-oriented programming language, you write the program in the same way, but the running approach from the bottom to top. It's follow the approach bottom to top. You can see, in the programming language, it's how it's sort of flowing the top to bottom and bottom to top to bottom or bottom to top. A programming procedural language is a list of instructions, which instruction in the language tell us the computer to do some things, and get some input data, computational, this display the output. The computer task is a function of the procedure. Take the example, main program, function 1, 2, 3, this. Okay, this is the procedural language. We have already performed C language. But in the object-oriented language, the structure has been changed. There are the Pascal, C, Fortran, COBOL. These are used the procedural language. The programmer start the thinking what we do, now to solve this problem, and then C does it. Typically start with the pseudocode, flow chart, data flow diagram, and the continuously refine the design into the codes. So what is the problem on this approach? Whenever required any changing, we need to change the whole flow. Can't break your flow. We need to modify. If you modify top, we need to modify the bottom also. That was the problem in the procedural language. Procedural language have the certain properties. No joining. The relationship of the data and the function in the procedural language approach can be this way. This is the relationship. Data, all data, global data, they are accessible function 1, function 2, function 3, function 4. What happens? Also, if the function 1 modify this data, सब थोड़ा थोड़ा हिंदी भी मिक्स करके बोलिए, इंग्लिश ज्यादा समझ नहीं आ रहा है. Okay, man. So if you don't understand, I'm not speaking proper speaking English. So if you're not able to understand, now you can speak. If you're writing the text message now, I'm not able to view the message. हम मैसेज नहीं देख पाते हैं हम स्क्रीन शेयरिंग के समय. सो इसलिए अगर कोई डाउट है, कुछ है, नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, तो आप बोलिए. मिस्टर राहुल.
सर ये जो सूडो कोड वगैरह होते हैं सब प्रोसीड्यूरल लैंग्वेज होती है.
Yes, pseudocode, all these are. Pseudocode is the procedural language. What if you write the algorithm for any program, that are also the procedural language.
So that means procedural language is not a programming language.
No, procedural language is a programming language that is just following the C language, na. If you are considering the object or they are also programming language, paradigm techniques that classified now. There are two paradigms after solving their problems. One is the for the imperative and primitive. Earlier we have discussed already. मैंने पहले ऊपर डिस्कस किया. देखिए आप इसको यहाँ पर देखेंगे सॉल्यूशन करने का टेक्निक. यार लैंग्वेज टेक्निक, व्हाट इज द paradigm टेक्निक? imperative, declarative. Procedural is also imperative paradigm. So the technique, the language, procedural language, which follow C language and Pascal follow. Object oriented, which language follow? C++.
हाँ जी सर, समझ गया।
Yes, sir.
These are the not language, these are the technique, methodology.
हाँ जी सर, समझ गया।
ठीक है, कौन सा लैंग्वेज किस मेथोलॉजी को फॉलो करता है वो समझना है आपको। लैंग्वेज आर द सी प्लस प्लस, नॉट द प्रोसीजर इज द लैंग्वेज।
हाँ जी सर, समझ गया। यस सर, यस सर।
तो देखिए, तो यहाँ पे क्या प्रॉब्लम था इसमें, जो ये आपका प्रोसीजर लैंग्वेज था, प्रोसीजर प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज में ये स्ट्रक्चर है। आप देख रहे हैं यहाँ पर फंक्शन 1 है लोकल डेटा, फंक्शन 2 लोकल डेटा, फंक्शन 3 लोकल डेटा। इसके पास लोकल डेटा है, लेकिन फंक्शन 1 ग्लोबल डेटा को भी एक्सेस कर रहा है। ठीक है, अगर फंक्शन 1 ने ग्लोबल डेटा को कुछ मॉडिफाई किया, ठीक है, तो फंक्शन 2 ने भी इसको मॉडिफाई कर दिया। सेम टाइम अगर मॉडिफाई करा फंक्शन 3 को चीजें 10 मिनट। ठीक है, these are the major problem of the procedure programming language. You can see here uncontrolled modifications.
सर जावा की सी।
These are in the problem in the C language. These are problem with the C language. If one whole language follow the procedure language, those face these types of the problems. अभी तक आप लोग सी प्रोग्रामिंग यूज किए हैं, ग्लोबल वेरिएबल यूज किए हैं?
यस सर, सही है।
तो उसमें प्रॉब्लम होता था ग्लोबल वेरिएबल के साथ कि नहीं होता है? अरे सिंपल सी बात है, ग्लोबल वेरिएबल अगर कंसेप्ट ऑब्जेक्ट का नहीं होता तो सिंपल सोचो, आपके पास बैंक अकाउंट है, पैसा आप निकालते हो, डिपॉजिट करते हो ना। ध्यान सुनना, डिफरेंट प्लेटफॉर्म से आप पैसा निकालते हो, एटीएम से निकालते हो, फोन पे से पे करते हो, गूगल से पे करते हो, और बैंक से भी जाके चेक से निकालते हो पैसा। ओके, ध्यान सुनना, अगर आप एक पर्सन है बैंक में गया, आपके पैसा अकाउंट में डिपॉजिट करने गया हुए, ठीक है, और आप एटीएम से पैसा निकाल रहे हो, अब अमाउंट आपका सेम टाइम में अवेलेबल नहीं है। बिफोर द डिपॉजिट यू आर ट्राई टू, है ना, विड्रॉल, आप विड्रॉल करने की सोच रहे हो, आपके अकाउंट में 5000 रुपीज था, आप निकालने जा रहे हो पैसा 8000 बिना डिपॉजिट किए हुए आपके पास। ठीक है, आप तो बैंक में पैसा है, बट आप एटीएम से भी निकालो, अलग प्लेटफॉर्म में। आप जैसे बैंक में डिपॉजिट करते हो, एटीएम में पैसा आपके, आप एटीएम से भी विड्रॉ करते सेम अकाउंट से, तो आपका ग्लोबल डेटा कौन सा है? कहीं पर भी आपका रिफ्लेक्ट हो जाता है, एवरीवेयर। आप एटीएम से निकालते हो, गूगल पे से निकालते हो, अकाउंट में पैसा आपका अपडेट हो जाता है। बताइए, एटीएम मशीन अदर ऑब्जेक्ट है, यहाँ से आप अलग अपने आप अकाउंट को एक्सेस कर रहे हैं। चेक है अदर चीज है, वहां से अलग चीज आप अकाउंट को एक्सेस कर रहे हैं।
ग्लोबल सर बैंक हुआ ना,
बैंक ग्लोबल आपका अकाउंट नंबर है, ग्लोबली है। दैट मीन्स एनीवेयर यू कैन मॉडिफाई योर अमाउंट्स। आप कहीं से भी पैसा डालते हो, डिपॉजिट करते हो, आपका अकाउंट मॉडिफाई हो जाता है, होता है ना। और एवरीवेयर सेम डेटा रिफ्लेक्ट होता है। रेलवे टिकट बुकिंग काउंटर, मल्टीपल काउंटर से टिकट बुक होता है, सभी जगह क्या डिफरेंट सीट अवेलेबल दिखाई देता है या सेम दिखाई देता है? सेम दिखाई देता है। तो क्या है, सेंट्रलाइज है सारा चीज। अगर ऐसा नहीं होता, ग्लोबल में अगर इशू होता है, ये चीज अगर नहीं आता ऑब्जेक्ट कंसेप्ट, तो आपका क्या होता है, सिस्टम प्रॉपर नहीं काम करता। फिर आप बुक किए 10 टिकट, अभी सिस्टम में दिखा रहा है, वहां पर दूसरे जगह देख रहे हैं, तो आपके टिकट आपको 10 टिकट बुक नहीं दिखा रहा है, वो अवेलेबल ही दिखा रहा है। तो प्रॉब्लम था कि नहीं था ये?
यस सर।
था ना। दे सेम आई थिंक यहाँ पर एक फंक्शन यहाँ पर है, मान लीजिए काउंटर 1 है, ये यहाँ पर टिकट काउंटर है आपका, ये 10 टिकट बुक कर लिया यहाँ से। अब इसको ये चीज पता नहीं चला, ये 10 टिकट यहाँ बुक हो चुका है, ये भी बुक करना चाह रहा है, 10 टिकट था, 10 बुक कर लिया, ये भी हिट किया 10 टिकट के लिए, लेकिन इसको मालूम नहीं है कि 10 टिकट बुक हो चुका है। इसको मालूम हो जाना चाहिए ना उस समय। और जब ये बुक करने जाएगा, हिट करेगा बुकिंग के लिए, तो अवेलेबल डेटा यहाँ पर इसको शो करना चाहिए। वो चीजें नहीं थी।
मतलब सर ग्लोबल वेरिएबल के थ्रू आपका जो सारा डेटा था वो सेंट्रलाइज्ड हो गया।
ग्लोबल वेरिएबल के थ्रू था इसमें। यहाँ लिखा टू द ग्लोबल वेरिएबल द रिस्क ऑफ द अनवांटेड एक्सेस मॉडिफिकेशन इंक्रीज ग्रेजुअली। ये ग्लोबली दे दिया ना, तो क्या इशू हो गया यहाँ पर? ये ऑब्जेक्ट भी ये भी मॉडिफाई कर रहा है, ये भी मॉडिफाई कर रहा है, तो क्या हो गया इशू? वो भी मॉडिफाई कर दिया इसको। टू द ग्लोबल वेरिएबल द रिस्क ऑफ द अनवांटेड एक्सेस मॉडिफिकेशन इंक्रीज्ड। व्हाट इज मॉडिफिकेशन इंक्रीज? एक्सेस, अनवांटेड एक्सेस। कोई भी ये भी एक्सेस कर लिया, ये भी एक्सेस कर लिया, फंक्शन 3 भी फंक्शन 4 भी मॉडिफाई कर दिया, अनवांटेड।
मतलब ये है कि ग्लोबल वेरिएबल को कोई भी मतलब लोकल वेरिएबल उसको इन्फ्लुएंस कर सकता है।
हाँ, ये प्रॉब्लम था ना, कोई भी मॉडिफाई कर दिया, तो मॉडिफाई कर दिया तो डेटा आपको प्रॉपर वे में नहीं मिल रहा है ना इसको। एनी टाइम ग्लोबल वेरिएबल आर अवेलेबल टू एनी फंक्शंस इवन द फंक्शन व्हिच डू नॉट हैव नीड टू इट। इस फंक्शन की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है, फिर भी एक्सेसिबल है, इसको जरूरत नहीं है, इसको फिर भी अवेलेबल क्यों है भाई? अननेसेसरी एक्सेसिबल क्यों है? नहीं जरूरत है ना, मैं जिसको जरूरत है उसको प्रोटेक्ट करके रखेंगे। सपोज मुझे इस फंक्शन 3 को नहीं अलाउ करना है मॉडिफिकेशन, आई कैन प्रोटेक्ट, ओनली व्यू का राइट देना है, नॉट एबल। तो ग्लोबल है, ऑल आर हैव द एक्सेसिबिलिटी। डेटा को प्रोटेक्शन नहीं था, मॉडिफिकेशन आपका सब जगह था। लेकिन अगर मुझे उस डेटा को किसी पार्टिकुलर क्लास पे असाइन करना है, किसी पार्टिकुलर फंक्शन पे असाइन करना है, केवल एक्सेसिबल केवल व्यू के लिए असाइन करना है, तो कैसे करते? सपोज आपका स्टूडेंट आईडी है, ईमेल आईडी है, ईमेल आईडी आपको सबको हमको नहीं शेयर करना है, किसी पार्टिकुलर पर्सन को केवल आपको व्यू करने के लिए देना, मॉडिफिकेशन का राइट नहीं देना है, तो कैसे देंगे? नहीं दे सकते ना। अगर ग्लोबल बना दिया जाए तो उसको ग्लोबल बनाओगे क्या होगा? कोई भी चेंज कर देगा, कोई भी डिलीट कर देगा, आपका डेटा को कर देगा ना, कर देगा ना जी।
यस
सर कर देगा
तो क्या होगा? ड्रॉबैक था कि नहीं था ग्लोबल डेटा वेरिएबल का?
सर।
तो उसको मैं प्रोटेक्ट करना है कि भाई जब यूजर आईडी अपना यूजर अकाउंट अपनी ईमेल आईडी से लॉगिन करेगा तभी उसको एडिट कर पाएगा। अदर कोई केवल अगर देखना चाहता है उसको केवल व्यू कर सकता है, उसको मॉडिफिकेशन नहीं कर सकता है। मॉडिफाई केवल कोई करेगा जो उसके ऑथराइज, जिसको ऑथराइज मिलेगा, ऑथराइज पर्सन होगा, ठीक है, ऑथराइजेशन होगा, वही उसको मॉडिफाई कर पाएगा। That is the issue, the procedural language. Now that is the function may individually access and modify the value without any way violating the rules of the language. बिना कोई रूल रेगुलेशन के इसको किसी भी रूल को बिना वायलेट किए ना वाइड किए हुए किसी भी रूल को तोड़े हुए वो आपको डेटा को मॉडिफाई कर देता था ग्लोबल वेरिएबल में। दैट आर द इशू। There is no way to this accidental misuse can be avoided, and so no method by which we can enforce the data definition and it use be confined to the functions which actually need them. कोई टेक्निक नहीं था कि हम केवल उसी फंक्शन को अलाउ करें जो इसको जरूरत है, कोई ऐसा रूल नहीं था। क्या वहां पर सी में प्राइवेट प्रोटेक्टेड था जी? एवरीवन, सब कोई भी फंक्शन उसको मॉडिफाई कर सकता था?
Yes, sir.
नहीं ना, तो हर कोई इसको एक्सेस कर सकता था। दैट इज द इशू, ग्लोबल डेटा मॉडिफिकेशन इशू। यू कैन गिव द name of them. In the procedural language, we have to major issue with the, if we take any variable as a global and we assign to the more than one variable, more than one function, any function can modify the data without violating the rules of the programming language. That was the major issue in the procedural language. The global data are accessible by the methods functions. They are not required to. We can't prevent to modification of particular functions if you share the data. Problem of enhancement and the maintainability. Enhancement means आप कुछ प्रोग्राम को इनहांस करना चाहते हो, इंक्रीज करना चाहते हो, ऐड करना चाहते हो, कोई एग्जिस्टिंग फंक्शनलिटीज आप उसमें है उसमें आप ऐड करना चाहते हो। अगर आप ऐड करना चाहते हो होल प्रोसीजर को आपको चेंज करना पड़ेगा, तब आप उसमें ऐड कर सकते हो। विदाउट प्रोसेस को रोके हुए आप उसमें कोई भी चीज ऐड नहीं कर सकते हो। मेंटेनेबिलिटी भी आपको डिफिकल्ट था उसमें। इन द लार्ज प्रोग्राम इट इज डिफिकल्ट टू कीप द ट्रैक ऑफ द डेटा इज यूज्ड बाय द व्हिच फंक्शन। आप वहां ट्रैक नहीं कर सकते थे कौन सा डेटा किस फंक्शन के द्वारा यूज हो रहे हैं, किसने मॉडिफाई किया। यहाँ पर अगर इसके अकॉर्डिंग आप इस डेटा को मान लो ग्लोबल डेटा है, किसने मॉडिफाई किया, यू कांट एबल टू आइडेंटिफाई। फंक्शन 1, फंक्शन 2, फंक्शन 3, फंक्शन 4, कौन मॉडिफाई किया, यू कांट फाइंड। एनीवन कैन मॉडिफाई। Now, these are the issue. If the programmer want to add some new feature or make some modification to the existing features, they are the chance, the new code he would add could modify some unprotected global data. If this modification is inappropriate, some part of the programs which is working fine may stop doing and so. अगर आप कुछ ऐड किए नया चीज तो जो प्रोग्राम चल रहा था आपका हो सकता है वो प्रॉपर फंक्शनलिटीज परफॉर्म न कर पाए, स्टॉप हो जाए। दिस इज द इशू इन द प्रोसीजरल लैंग्वेज प्रोग्राम। क्लियर?
तो सर ये जो प्रॉब्लम है इसको हम फेस करने के लिए ये भी तो सॉल्यूशन बना सकते हैं।
हम लोग किसके थ्रू किया, ऑब्जेक्ट के थ्रू।
तो सर इसमें हम इसको रोल बैक भी तो कर सकते हैं। हम वापस मान लीजिए हम इसको वो कर दें, डिनाई कर दें इस अपडेशन को, तो उससे हमारा सिस्टम सिक्योर हो जाएगा ना फिर से।
तो कैसे सिक्योर होगा? यहाँ पर कोई रूल ही नहीं है ना डेटा को सिक्योर करने का। नो ग्लोबल डेटा, यू हैव एक्सेसिबिलिटी राइट, पब्लिक, प्रोटेक्टेड, प्राइवेट, नथिंग।
ओके सर।
You have used the structure. Struct keyword you have used. Have you used the struct keywords? Design the structure. Structure is also the basic. And before the coming to the project or object-oriented programming language, in the C language, develop the struct. This is near to the class, not a class, near to the class. They organize the different data types and the functions to perform the task, but don't have the data protections.
Okay, sir.
There's no data protection. You can design the structure as a student iCard, but you can't prevent your data outside the accessibility of the structure. Next is the reusability. We cannot be able to reuse. Next issue is the reusability. Since the procedural language are strongly typed, they are the function highly dependent on the type of the variables that being used. So that cannot be properly hamper reusability. For example, if a program sorting were written for the integer, but it not be able to sort the real numbers. Okay, if you written a program for sorting the integer number, but if you want to sort the real number, it can't do. These are the properties of the major characteristics of procedural language. Now, object-oriented language you have already studied about, so no need to describe again. And who joined me later. Okay, so these are the object-oriented programming language. Already studied, discussed about benefit object-oriented language. These are the benefits. Easy in dividing the jobs, reduce the complexity, provide the extensibility, eliminate the redundancy. Redundancy means, are you able to about the redundancy?
It's a repetition of data.
A repetition of the data. Eliminate same data, it can't be repeated everywhere by using the class methods, objects. Save the development time and the increase the productivity. If you are, how much you are able to use the object oriented, you are good to deliver your products in a few times. These are the most important point of the programming language. save the development time and the increase the productivity. Nowadays, the demanding by the everywhere, every organizations, every fields are demanding this. In the few time, they require the loss of the productivity. So how it can be achieved? It can be achieved by using the utilization of the object-oriented approach. If you are grab the object-oriented programming approach, you can develop any task or functionalities. Or you can see everywhere. You can see any function organized instead of not in the programming language. In our society, if you want to make one complete big programs, they organize in a whole day. How? They are divided the task in the different group of the persons. They are able to do the individually their task for the whole organization. No?
Yes, sir.
And at the when suppose when you are meeting, when your function are started, you are enjoying. But before the how you can think how they are prepared for that events. They are organize the events in a different parts. Some music parts are others, dinners अलग अलग डिपार्टमेंट को लोगों को डिवाइड कर दिया. अगर ऐसा नहीं होता तो सुबह से शाम तक में क्या फंक्शन के लिए आपका जो इवेंट है क्या रेडी हो पाता अगर इस तरह से नहीं होता तो?
नो सर.
वन बाय वन करते तो नहीं होता. पैरेलली हर टास्क स्टार्ट हो जाता है ना. साउंड वाला साउंड का म्यूजिक काम करता है, डिनर का डिनर काम करता है, डेकोरेशन का काम करता है. पैरेलली दे आर स्टार्ट द वर्किंग एंड दे आर शेयरिंग द रिसोर्सेस. और रिसोर्स को शेयर भी करते हैं. वहां पर हमारा टाइम भी बचा है, रिसोर्स भी हमारा कम खर्चा होता है. These are the benefit of the object programming language. Now here the introduction of the common language that support the object-oriented programming language. Object-oriented programming language, object-based programming language and the object-oriented programming language. There are two concepts. The object-based programming language is a style of the programming that primarily support the encapsulation and the object identity. The major feature of that required for the object-based programming language are the data encapsulation, data hiding, access mechanism that is protected private, and the automatic initialization and clear of the object. What feature is called in the object-oriented programming language? Or already know about this? You have used in the C++ constructor. Have you used the constructor or not? What's the purpose of constructor? Hello? Constructor are these are the initializing and the clear of the object. Polymorphism. Polymorphisms are the terms of the consider two terms, poly and the morphism. That means many form. A function have the more functionalities, having the same name but the behavior of the different tasks. They are doing the different tasks. We call the polymorphism. Applications can go through. In the next class, we will start the programming in the Java. How you can write the program in the Java.
Sir, I need a question, sir.
Yes.
एक्चुअली सर मैं थोड़ा सा न्यू हूँ तो मेरे को जस्ट कंफ्यूजन है कि बीसीए की क्लासेस हैं तो सर ये मतलब कौन से उससे हैं?
As you know, as a rule of the IGNOU, if you are go through the study materials, and when you come to the class, now first you go through their study materials, and you have to make the lots of the questions, make the questions, and ask the question in the session.
Sir, offline classes नहीं online classes है sir ये सारी.
You can view your study schedules, or you can contact to the study center.
Okay, sure sir, thank you.
है ना, you can go for the.
जल्दी आया करो सर, बहुत वेट करवाते सर.
एक्चुअली मेरे को अभी भी प्रोवाइड हुआ है ये सब कुछ तो मैं अभी जस्ट ज्वाइन करा है इसमें.
So regarding this, you can contact your study center or respective study regional centers. They will provide the respective information about that.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.